Two very senior and experienced MPs who probably should have known better. Jack Straw and Sir Malcolm Rifkind thought they were discussing what paid advice they could give a Chinese company, but it was a sting operation.
I'm self-employed, so nobody pays me a salary. I have to earn my income, but when I'm not doing something, I can do what I like.
Mr Straw met the undercover reporters in his office in the House of Commons and talked about work he'd done for other companies.
Obviously, if we get down the track, there's the issue of what fee you had in mind.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it'd be good to, I don't know if you have a kind of daily rate in mind.
I mean, normally, if I'm doing a speech or something, it's £5,000 a day. That's what I charge.
Yeah.
So have the men broken any rules? Well, MPs are prohibited from taking money to speak or vote in the Commons, but they are allowed to be paid for outside interests as a company director, consultant or advisor. Any earnings, though, must be declared in the Register of Members' Interests. Some have even suggested all this has security implications because Sir Malcolm Rifkind chairs the Parliamentary Committee which oversees Britain's intelligence agencies. But he insists he's got nothing to be embarrassed about.
These are sordid, unfounded allegations. I'm going to fight them all the way. Of course, I have a salary as an MP, but in terms of my business interests, I don't receive salaries. I get paid for the work I provide for individual companies.
Today, Mr Straw came out fighting. He's standing down as an MP in May and says although he's mortified that he's being tricked by reporters, he's simply using his experience to get another job.
I've complied with not just the letter, but the spirit of all the rules. And this interview with as it turned out, a bogus company set up by Channel 4 was not to do with my work as a Member of Parliament. It was to do with whether I would work for them after I had retired.
Sir Malcolm Rifkind and Jack Straw may not have broken any rules, but this has raised again the issue of whether an MP should be allowed to do outside work while they're sitting as a member of the Commons. Steps have been taken to increase transparency, so voters know what MPs earn and, crucially, who's paying them. But Labour say it's time to go much further. Ed Miliband, on a visit to Croydon today, said he wants to limit the type of extra work MPs can do.
Labour candidates standing at the next election will be banned from taking paid directorships or consultancies. Today I'm writing to David Cameron to say he should do the same for his members of Parliament, because we've got to settle this issue of second jobs once and for all, so we remove any suspicion that MPs are working not for their constituents' interests but someone else's interests.
What I see from the Labour proposal is actually not outlawing outside business or interests, but putting a new set of rules which would, for instance, allow someone to work as a trade union official but wouldn't allow someone to run a family shop or a family publishing business or such like. And I think that doesn't make sense.
This episode adds to the suspicion of some voters that MPs are in it for their own personal gain rather than to serve their communities. But the Prime Minister says Parliament can be enriched by MPs having outside interests as long as they obey the rules. Vicky Young, BBC News, Westminster.